To start off, go to Canvas and download this practice file from here, hit the down arrow, and then open it up in Photoshop. We're going to be animating these different elements. First, let's do a quick refresh on how to delete the background from this planet Earth. So click on that layer that says planet. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. I'm going to go select, subject, and now I'm going to hit Command J on my keyboard, and that just made a new layer from that selection. I don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to delete it and rename this one planet. And we'll start off animating this. So first thing that we need to do is get our timeline. If you don't see your timeline, go to Window, Timeline, click on this, and we're going to create a video timeline. So click on that button, and then it'll automatically create different video layers or animation layers from all of our layers over here in the layers panel. And they're all purple, and by default, you can just leave all those default settings. So for the planet, we're going to first tell Photoshop to make this into a smart object. And that is something that you just need to do. It's just telling Photoshop that you're going to animate it. We're going to do that for all of the layers. So I made it into a smart object. And now I'm making sure that the playhead, this is the line that points out where you are in the timeline. I'm going to drag it to the beginning. I'm going to go to this down arrow by the planet. And what we'll do is animate this moving across the sky. So choose a point where you want it to start. Press transform, and this is going to set a keyframe for where it's located and for any kind of rotation or for its scale. So now if I move ahead in the timeline here, I'm going to stop about halfway through the animation. I'm going to move this, and then let's scale it up a little bit. It automatically set a keyframe for both the scale and the movement. I have to hit the check mark to accept the transform, but let's just scroll back and check. So you can see it's remembering the scale and the location. And then let's go ahead and set one more keyframe for the end. Let's have it move all the way across the sky, and let's have it scale down. And you don't even have to press anything. It automatically has set that keyframe. Again, I have to accept it by hitting the check mark. And so there you have your first motion graphic animation done. Okay. Next, we're going to work on this guy. So this is Tom, and we're also going to make him into a smart object. So if I go to Layer, Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object, that's done. And for this, I want to do an idle animation and show you how you can also use some of the transforms settings to animate. And we're going to do a really simple squash and stretch. So I'm starting again at the first frame in our animation. I'm going to hit the stopwatch to set a transformation for the character. Now I'm going to come out here a little bit, and then I'm going to hit Command T. That's going to pull up the free transform tool. I'm going to right click on here, and then there's a bunch of different options. So I'm going to choose Distort, and I'm going to stretch a little bit, and I'll make him a little bit skinnier, and then I'll accept that there. And then now it's set that keyframe. So we've just got a subtle little squash and stretch happening. And then I can also copy and paste the keyframe. So I want him to go back to this original pose, how he was. So I'm going to right click on this little diamond, the keyframe. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to move ahead in my timeline, press on this to set another keyframe. I'm going to right click and hit paste. And it pasted that keyframe. And I'm going to do it one more time to copy and paste this one. So I'm going to right click on this and hit copy. I'm going to move all the way to the end, hit this keyframe, set keyframe, and then it automatically set that for me. I'm going to paste that one that I copied. Okay. Let's talk about the car. And so we'll move this one. This one's special because it has multiple parts to it. So if I turn off this other stuff, there's going to be situations where if you have something that you want to animate that has parts inside of it that you want to animate, so basically a animation that's made up of moving parts. A few special steps and things to keep in mind for this. We're going to put it into a group, and then first I'm going to turn everything into a smart object. So we'll just do that really quick. I'm going to go to Layer, Convert to Smart Object. I'm doing that for each one of those layers. Layer, Convert to Smart Object. Okay. Now, I'm just going to keep these off for a while. Okay, now I'm going to put these into a group. And like I said, important to group things together when you want to keep them all together. So I have everything selected by holding Shift. I'm going to right click and then select New Group from Layers. Very important. It's that one right there. New Group from Layers. And I'm going to call it Car and hit OK. All right. Now I'm going to animate the entire thing first. So basically it's the wheels and the car, and I'm going to have all of them move across the screen. So first thing, I'm going to set a keyframe where it is. And for each one of these, I'm just going to hit the stopwatch like that. I'm moving ahead in the timeline. And then now I'm going to move this, and it's going to automatically set that keyframe. And so we'll just check that really quick. Yep. So all of this is moving. Now I also want to put a spin on the tires. So I'm going to go to the front wheel and go there, the front wheel, and I'll set that like that. And then I'm going to move ahead. Oh, I got to hit the check mark. I'm going to move ahead in the timeline here, and I'm going to rotate, hit the check mark to accept it. There we go. I'm going to go back here. Now we'll do the back wheel. And so that keyframe is already set. I'm going to move ahead in the timeline. I got to hit the check mark. Oh, shoot. Move ahead in the timeline. Now we're going to rotate that a bunch. Hit that check mark. So you can see that is rotating. It's kind of rotating slowly, but it is rotating. So it's basically multiple animations in one. It's moving with the entire car, but it's also spinning. So there's a couple things happening, okay? Let's talk about the styles. So let's go back to the planet, and it's down here. And we're gonna put some style effects onto it. I'm going to add some different color effects to this. So I'm gonna click on the style option. That's gonna set a keyframe. Now we're gonna go to effects and do a gradient overlay. And this is gonna give you a whole bunch of different options. I'm gonna have it start off like kind of low like this, and just it's more subtle, and then I'll have it get brighter and more intense. So I'm gonna hit OK there. Pick any color that you like from those options. I'm gonna move ahead in the timeline, and then now let's set another keyframe there. So I'm gonna again hit effects, gradient overlay, and now I'm gonna just bump that opacity up to 100 and hit OK. And now that's what everything looks like all together. It's going to take a while to process just the first time around. It's actually a faster animation than this. It's just basically Photoshop is processing all the information, so it's kind of loading and buffering. The actual animation itself would be much faster than this. So you kind of need to give it some time to run through once. This is how fast it would actually look when it's done, okay? Follow along, try this out, experiment with those different settings. You should have all of these different kinds of animation, so include a transformation like I did with Tom here. Include a rotation on those wheels, experiment also with the effects and color. All of those things are going to give you a lot of creative control and make your animations really interesting and expressive. So I want you to really explore all of the options, okay? One last thing, for this, we can go ahead and make this into an MP4 file, so that's an actual movie file. This would be the file type that would be on YouTube, any kind of, video uploading site. So we're going to render video this time. And the default settings should be totally fine. Just hit render. And it's going to take a while. I'm going to call it something else here. Select your folder, make sure you're paying attention to where it's going in your computer, and hit render. It'll take a few minutes to process everything. You should end up with a video file when you're done with this.